Yo yourself. Okay, Daniel Daly here. The Women and the Warlords by Hugh Cook. I read the Chronicles of an Age of Darkness, one volume at a time, all the way through to volume 10, when they were released. Starting from the release of probably the first 2 or 3 volumes, about 86 probably I started, maybe even 85, 86, 87, somewhere around there I started it. And read it all the way to volume 10 as they came out. Back in the 80s and 90s, because I was into fantasy books like David Eddings' Belgariad, Remedy Feist's Magician's Saga, and a lot of others. But Hugh Cook's Chronicles of an Age of Darkness I also got into. I haven't read any of the other Hugh Cook novels yet. Haven't gotten around to that. I don't read novels much anymore. But he does actually have some other things. Was it Shift series or something like that, and bits and pieces of stuff. But this is the 3rd volume. This was going to be the 2nd volume. Hugh Cook people would know this. Some would know this. But the publishers wanted something a bit different for volume 2, so they got the Wordsmiths of the War Guild, which he sat down and came up with, I suppose. But this was normally the 2nd volume, I think, but it's got pushed back to volume 3. I'll read the blurb on the back. Lord Alagrace said you'd help. Any oracle can give you a reading, replied the Anna lass. I told Alagrace an oracle couldn't help me, said the Andrask. I told him I wasn't interested in a reading, but he told me you do better than that. He told me you'd fix it. What? Said the Anna lass. She was genuinely shocked, and it took a lot to shock her. So begins the Anna lass' involvement in the lifelong feud of the warlords of the Colossian Empire. She was to witness war, madness and wizardry, and would play a greater part in events of her time than a mere oracle had any right to expect. There's a Nuana Nanaloka or something like that as one of the characters somewhere in the Chronicles. She has a volume planned by Hugh Cook normally. It's not the Waltshire from Wasp, it's one of them or something for volumes, later volumes. But this is really the only female character which got a volume of its own in the Chronicles of an Age of Darkness, I think. Well, it depends on what you make of the volume 6 and 7, I suppose. They're sort of a mixed bag of characters, but those are Wizards and the Warriors. Okay. There's a map of Tamrin. So it's set in the northern... I suppose it's north, of course, isn't it? That's north. I think it's north to south, a general mapping of Hugh Cook's maps. Tamrin is the northern continent. I've got other videos on Hugh Cook, quite a few if you look them up. Hugh Cook YouTube channels, Hugh Cook Fanfiction and Adventures in Life with Hugh Cook, 2 of the YouTube channels which I've got. But I also do stuff on this channel. Tamrin's the northern continent, north of Argon. There is, if you look up Google Images, type in Chronicles of an Age of Darkness or Olomalan, Olomalan, or maps of the Chronicles of an Age of Darkness, you can get a complete map of the full world pieced together by a particular fan from all the maps in the 10 volumes. But Tamrin's the continent north of Argon where a lot of the stories are set. And that's where Yanalampas and Badara does the stuff with the Khmer rules and things like that. And that's Tamrin. I think Hugh Cook probably did the maps. Let me see. Copyright 1987. I did have some of the hardbacks at a certain stage. Okay, here we go. There's another map. Okay. Chapter 1. Name. Yen Alas Ampadara. Birthplace. Monogale. Just wait. Occupation Oracle. Status Slave. Description: heavy-built female of Scanagood race, so she's a big girl. Age 30, hair black, eyes slate, height 11 qua. And who knows what a qua is. Diamond tattoo on left inner thigh. Residence room 7, height 3 of 244, moon stallion straight, eastern quadrant, gender magensis. Okay, it was the third fowl of 7th cohort in the year Kamar 18, and the season, of course, was snow. Yanalas knew the date, but with no sun, moon, or star sign to guide her judgment, she could only guess at the time. A howling gale was blowing. The mouth of the cave offered only a prospect of indeterminate grey sky and gaunt black trees thrashing in the wind. Though it was certainly late in the day, she thought she could still get back to the hunting lodge at Branton. If she ran out of daylight, she would just have to find her way in the dark, but before setting out, she had a little problem to sort out. The problem had 4 legs, a mouth like cast iron, and a definite will of its own. Now, one thing I noticed about The Women of Warlords when I first read it, I'd read Volume 1 and Volume 2, and they were beset with sort of the sarcasm and mockery and wit, which most of the Chronicles books have in abundance. Some of them quite heavy. But this one's more of a serious tone. Maybe it's because it's a female character, or maybe that was deliberately planned by Hugh Cook. But this is more of a regular novel, and fantasy, of course, set in a fantasy world. But it doesn't quite have as much sarcasm anyway. And though there's probably, I don't remember it all after all these years. This was read like 30 odd years ago. But I do recall that it was quite a more serious book, or a more toned down book compared to what you'd gotten in the Wizards of the Warriors and the Wordsmiths and the War Guild. This was a lighter touch, perhaps. I'm pretty sure I enjoyed every volume of the Chronicles of an Age of Darkness, looking back. I enjoyed them all. They were all good reading, and I sort of got hooked into them all. I don't remember much of the detail of it all after all these years. Over the years, I've had a little bit of a look at times. I've done stuff in recent years with these videos and stuff, but this is generally, the Chronicles of an Age of Darkness in general is for Kugel from Jack Vance, or Aiken Drum from Julian May in the Pliocene books, Saga of the Galactic Milieu Exile books. Aiken Drum, the character, he's a bit of a rouseabout, and Kugel from Kugel's Saga Knights of the World from the Dying Earth novels by Jack Vance. That sort of sarcasm is what Hugh Cook's made of a fair bit as well. Sort of a little bit like Douglas Adams, although he's more clever in his humour. But I think someone like Keith Giffen, who does DC Comics stuff, especially his Justice League stuff, he'd possibly get along well with Hugh Cook. But I loved this stuff back in the day. It was Warlords and Warwolf was usually my favourite book for quite a while. Still ranks right up there, but this is probably, if you're into fantasy novels and more serious ones, or one with a female character, this would be one to check out. It's not the biggest of all the novels. I don't think it's quite the shortest. I think Wordsmith's War Guild is probably a little bit shorter, or The Werewolf and Wormlord is probably a little bit shorter. But some of them are a bit hefty. This one's sort of average size, but probably worth reading if you like fantasy novels and you want to get into some of the older books. The Chronicles of an Age of Darkness is usually highly recommended by myself. I mean, I've done a lot of fan fiction of it as well, and stories at the YouTube channels, and Hugh Cook fanfiction.angelfire.com, where I do some more writing and stuff. So, The Women of the Warlords by Hugh Cook, Chronicles of an Age of Darkness, Volume 3. Hugh's deceased now. He died a number of years ago. And there was always plans to expand the Chronicles into, ultimately, I think, even 60 volumes or something like that. He had a 20 plan, but ultimately 60 or something like that were within his scope of imagination, but he only got to 10. Sales lagged towards the end, but something to check out.